We have the Los Angeles Rams versus the Washington football team. The Rams didn't play. They didn't impress me against the Giants. They came out flat, but they won the game. When a team comes out flat and wins a game, that's a really good sign. I know fans are probably frustrated, like, why didn't they beat the crap out of the Giants? I'm frustrated because I had the Rams in a lot of parlays, so they screwed me this week betting wise. But that's a fluke, man. This offense is better than what we saw. And the Giants' defense is a little better than you thought. You got to give them some credit as well. Let me hit you with projections. I think Goff bounces back. He's a start this week. I'm staying away from both running backs. Malcolm Brown makes an appearance, makes a presence, actually out carries Darrell Henderson this week. I'm staying away from both. Cooper Kupp is a start. I'm a little worried about Robert Woods. Tyler Higbee, I think, bounces back, but he's given us the Jekyll and Hyde. He's given us the evil Tyler Higbee, the one David and I were worried about before the season. 2 big weeks to start the year, 2 bad weeks. Which one's the real Tyler Higbee? Freaking A, I don't know. Maybe this is Tyler Higbee. Good and bad, good and bad. On the other side, Washington, I hate Dwayne Haskins as a quarterback every week. I think he's among the worst quarterbacks in the league with respect to Rippon over there in Denver. I believe nephew of ex-Washington great Mark Rippon. Mark Rippon. Washington was my team growing up, man. That Super Bowl was awesome. I loved it. But anyway, a little shout out to the Rippons. Antonio Gibson, I think, is a start every week. You know, Washington has trouble moving the ball. What do? They throw the ball to the running back. And Gibson's pretty good. If they had a better quarterback, Gibson would be like a definite, like, we're talking like top 12 running back.
He's pretty good. He's pretty good, all right.
Yeah, so I like him quite a bit. You got to start him. McLaurin, you can start him. I was impressed that he got as many yards as he did against Baltimore. But Washington, because they can't move the ball, not only is there a target, basically consolidation over to McLaurin, but they're behind a lot, so they have to throw the ball. You could, in daily fantasy, if you're looking for a cheap guy, I like Inman this week to do pretty well. And then on the Washington side, I don't like Logan Thomas's projection this week. Dave and I both like Logan Thomas, but I don't like his projection. Again, it's the Haskins factor. If they had better quarterback play, they'd be. To me, it's like, are they going to move to their backup at some point? Because I think their backup quarterback could be winning some of these games. Are they going to move there, or are they going to be patient and go through the ups and downs, or mostly the downs with Dwayne Haskins? I don't know, man. I'm not seeing anything I like in the offense from quarterback specifically. Anyway, take it away, David.
Let's start where you left off with Washington. Antonio Gibson has arrived. Like, if he can do it against Baltimore, guys, you don't bench him at all. Like, he is plug and play going forward. And what finally happened is what we've all been waiting for it to happen, is for them to finally get him involved as a receiver.
Yeah.
This guy, the main knock against him was that he was a receiver. Like, because nobody wanted to buy it. The people who weren't buying in on this guy, oh, he's a receiver turned running back. Like, and they weren't using him as a receiver the first 3 weeks. He just wasn't getting those targets. They weren't being creative with him. 4 for 80. He was their second leading receiver yardage-wise this past week, and third for receptions. McKissick had 7 receptions for 40 yards.
Yep.
But that also is kind of another positive, that look how many running back targets they're producing. If Gibson starts pushing McKissick off the field even more, he's becoming like a top 8, top 10 running back, like just on a weekly upside basis. He's not quite there yet production-wise, but in terms of who would you start over this guy, I don't know if there's 10 running backs I would start over this guy in a given week going forward. Now that he's got the receiving role, he's a freak, guys. Like, I was all over Antonio Gibson, and I'm even more on him now.
Yeah, and he's doing all this without getting touchdowns. Most weeks.
He's got 3 rushing touchdowns, I believe.
Does he really?
I know he's got at least 2. But he's getting the goal line work now. He's getting the receiving work. If you can go out and trade this guy, maybe James Conner for Antonio Gibson, absolutely do it. Maybe James Conner plus. I've been trying to. Luckily got off the James Conner train in the one league I had.
I don't mind James Conner. We debated this last week. I don't mind James Conner, but I actually like that move. If you can trade Conner for Gibson, I'm bullish on Gibson. And like you said, McKissick gets a lot of targets. At some point, those will move more to Gibson as he flashes more. And there's a I don't know, David, if you invest, if you buy stocks and everything, but one of the disciplines is you follow the CEO to different companies. If a CEO goes to a different company and they had a successful track record and the company's stock sucks, buy that stock because the CEO is going to right the ship. Follow the coordinator, follow the play caller in fantasy football. This is the system that sprung Christian McCaffrey. It's not rocket science, everybody. Antonio Gibson is going to get better, and as he gets better, his points are going to increase. I'm telling you, if Washington even makes the move to Allen at quarterback or whoever it is, or maybe gets a new one next year, Gibson's point total seriously could like double. I mean, there's that kind of potential for this guy. So I agree with you.
I'm going to give you a little pushback too, because, and I'll give myself some pushback on this here too, because I thought this could be a week where Dwayne Haskins did get benched, and watching the game, he didn't pop out at any point.
No,
he didn't throw a single touchdown. But just looking at the stat sheet, 32 of 45 for 314 yards, no interceptions, no fumbles. He took care of the football. That's been the main problem.
Fair point.
Haskins, taking care of the football. If he can start cleaning it up a little bit, he's got the arm talent to break through. I mean, he's just got to get his mental right and make the correct decisions, which he did this past week. If he can take another step forward, this offense is only going to get better.
That's fair. That's a fair devil's advocate. I'm betting against it, but hey, you know, he's young yet.
It could go both ways. It could go both ways.
It could go both ways.
I would not be shocked if he gets benched next week.
What about the Rams?
What about the Rams? I don't even want to talk about the Rams. It's like Mike Dobbins shot to the heart. I got the same thing with Henderson going on. We talked about him last week. I made the Devontae Freeman comparison. That doesn't look so hot right now. What is going on with Sean McVay? Like, what did Darrell Henderson do wrong to deserve being out-carried by Malcolm Brown 9-8? What did he do? Like, I don't get it. I don't get why you would turn away from, why you would not manufacture touches for this guy.
I agree completely with you. And this is what I was concerned with Cam Akers, right? Because let's not forget about him. He's been injured. This is what I've been concerned about, because the press, and we didn't have a training camp, the press comes out, McVay's like, oh, I like how San Francisco does it. They ride the hot hand, blah, blah, blah. The hot hands theory in football is complete BS. It's complete BS. If you have a running back with superior vision, you can see that in training camp. I'm sorry, Darrell Henderson, you can see it. He's better than Cam Akers. And Cam Akers will have value. I'm not even going to argue that point today. But he's better than Malcolm Brown, everybody. If you want to give Malcolm Brown the short yardage role and make him the goal line running back, I don't have any beef with. I don't like it, but I'm not going to argue about that. But if you're talking about game carries week to week, I can tell you what he did is he thought Malcolm Brown looked a little bit better in that moment, and I completely disagree with the approach. If he's better, if Darrell Henderson is better, there are factors in this. We saw this with the Rams last year. If the offensive line isn't playing well enough to open holes, so you take Darrell Henderson out, and then the one hole they open up in like 20 snaps is when Malcolm Brown's in, then you're going to reward him with more carries? There's so many circumstances. It drives me crazy because there's like a handful of coaches that do this. Henderson is the best back for the Rams. And Rams fans, if you're watching this, please comment below. Let me see what you're seeing. Do you agree with me and David? Because when I see the games, and I do watch all the games, Henderson jumps out. Akers, to me, looks like he's going to be more of a slighter-bodied receiving back to me in the NFL. He could definitely get better. Malcolm Brown looks like he can probably run with a little bit more power consistently. It should be at least Darrell Henderson in between the 20s. At least that. But we don't get that consistently, driving me crazy.
I'm not sure Sean McVay even's got a plan. I think he wakes up on Sunday morning and says, let's just see what happens today.
With running back, I agree with you, man.
Yeah.
With running back, I agree. And maybe with tight end, too. You see Gerald Everett gets a rushing touchdown in that game.
It's clear, though, guys. Like, if you didn't believe it before, I hate to break it to you. Gerald Everett limits Tyler Higbee's upside.
Yeah.
Tyler Higbee's barely startable as long as Gerald Everett is.
Do you have I know you usually pull these up. Do you have the snap share count readily accessible? I don't know what's going on with Everett and Higbee, but I know this is what we talked about for weeks before the season, why we were fading Higbee and why we looked like complete morons the first 2 weeks. But the last 2 weeks are a little bit of a confirmation of what we were saying is Gerald Everett, like McVay likes Gerald Everett. And McVay likes Malcolm Brown, and he likes Darrell Henderson, and he likes this, and he likes that. The only people I think you can really count on consistently in the Rams to produce with McVay are Jared Goff when the running game is going, because Goff just plays better when the running game's going, as do all quarterbacks, and Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods. With specifically, I've always been higher on Kupp than Woods, just because he gets – it's that chemistry. I think Goff likes throwing to Cooper Kupp a little bit more in tough situations, and Kupp got the touchdown this past week.
Yeah, I mean, the snap share is a little bit cloudy just because Gerald Everett did miss that one game. Okay. He got injured. But through 4 weeks, we got Higbee at 82.5% of the snaps, Everett at 38.9% of the snaps. So Higbee is on the field like almost the whole game. But the problem is Gerald Everett's also on the field about 50% of the game. And that means when he is on the field, he's taken away some of those routes. He's taken away some of those targets. He's taken away some of those schemed play calls.
Yeah, that to me leads me to believe be patient with Higbee. And I would err more on the side of me being, and I guess us being wrong before the season with that. You know, defenses react. Higbee was going crazy. Maybe they're, you know, we saw it with Buffalo.
But let me cut. Can I cut in?
Please.
Because last year, you saying be patient. It was kind of the same thing with Higbee last year before Everett got hurt. He was playing about 70%.
Was he? Okay.
He just wasn't producing because he wasn't getting the routes run. He wasn't getting the schemed play calls, and he was being used as a blocker.
You know what's funny is, you know, we're pulling our hair out over this, and we're going to talk about New Orleans because they have the Monday Nighter, but New Orleans, you know, Latavius Murray and Alvin Kamara, right? New Orleans, you got Josh Hill, you got Jared Cook, you got Taysom Hill. We don't pull our heads out over New Orleans, and we know Sean McVay like looks to other offenses, and we know he likes Sean Payton and what he does there. Are we just getting the same thing, and are we just mad because we're, you know, we're not getting what we want to see? Maybe that's some of it, but then again,
I'm
you know,
say no because Alvin Kamara hasn't disappointed me once. And
you're right.
If you were starting Latavius Murray, you were just, I don't want to say, we'll say crazy. You were crazy.
Yeah. Let me hit you with the line in this one. So we have the Los Angeles Rams, according to Bovada, -9.5 versus Washington. Who do you got?
-9. That's another big spread. I think which Rams offense is going to show up?
Yeah.
Like, who knows? I guess I'm going to say the one that showed up last week. So I'll take Washington and the points. They looked good against Baltimore, who's a really good, in my opinion, best team in the NFL. And the Rams played like crap against the Giants, who are just terrible. Just terrible. So I'll take Washington and the points.
You know, and that's what I wrote down. Computers like the Rams on this one. And I kind of feel like we're both overreacting to, and I'm doing it too, overreacting what we saw last week. Washington played a little bit better against Baltimore than we expected, and the Rams laid an egg. They still won the game, but they laid an egg versus the Giants. I think Washington's defense is better than the Giants. I think Washington's offense is better than the Giants. The Rams are certainly better than what we saw last week, but 9.5 is a huge line. I see this more as a touchdown game, maybe an 8-point game, maybe even a 9-point game, but 9.5, it's a little bit too much for me. So I'm going to take Washington. Computers like the Rams. We'll just move it on from there.